Now, the book starts with the claim that nobody can promise fidelity or loyalty, and that ultimately we aren't in control of who we sleep with or marry. Now, people just might find this controversial and even discouraging. Why do you start with this idea, and is there still a place for till death do us part?
What a great question. I'm glad you asked it. You mind if I answer this one?
Go first.
We, years ago, when we thought that we would ever write this down or talk to people, it was clear to me that that was how I would begin. And the reason that I would begin that way breaks down into several components. Firstly, we're depicting our experience of gender as an external intelligence and a mechanic to it, a role that it plays in human life that is in scale dwarfs us. And we metaphorically cite things like the sightings of gorillas in Africa or rare or mythical creatures. If you see gender as an external force and you actually meet it, it's clearly something that is bigger than you are. It's more powerful than you are. It's more complex. And it offers something just absolutely fantastic. But if you don't recognize it for what it is and get behind it, it's not so much it's out to get you, but the force of it and the motion of it can lay waste to a human life. And the idea that we can dominate that force is, to me, similar to our relationship to the weather. If you consider, yes, we certainly can make weatherproof houses, and we can not build our homes in low wetlands subject to coastal erosion or various things. But ultimately, if it's us against the weather's going to win. And to me, it's an illusion and it's kind of doesn't foster the sophisticated relationship with gender to say that if we're moral enough or careful enough or we want something badly enough or say the right words or promise enough, we actually are controlling the force of gender and relationship. Better to say there's a powerful force out there. If I can learn to relate to it and understand it, it wants to give us transformation. It's asking for us to do relatively simple things to connect with it, get behind what it wants to do. But one of those things is to give up the idea we're going to dominate it or control it, but instead learn to work with it. So that's reason number one. Reason number two was this, the whole premise of wild attraction is that to have a relationship of the type that we're celebrating, you cannot be in a state where you have a strong desire to control anything or you're defending your own basic power. There's a requirement that you use power to express ritually, to like passing a baton back and forth. And in doing that, you can't be thinking your mate is going to get power over you. For instance, if I get in the pattern of opening doors for Patty, which I do, or if she leaves a bag of groceries on the seat of the car, I'll run and get it. That's not losing my power. That's me knowing that the way I communicate my adoration and respect and desire to be connected to her is to ritually provide certain actions that say that I honor the feminine in her. It's not that she's running me or controlling me. So by putting that in the front of the book, my message to people is, if you have a problem with this, then don't read my book, because it's not going to work for you. You have to be able to handle the idea that you aren't going to be in charge. Nobody's out to take away your power. We need a more sophisticated view. And so it was really a very important sign saying, well, this is for certain people, but not for others. That's why we did it that way. Sorry, it's a long answer, but I sure like it that you asked me the question.
Well, you did write that the battle of the sexes is the greatest human tragedy of all time. Could you expand upon that? I mean, that's a pretty interesting statement.
Would you care to, Love?
I would be glad to. What I would say is what is possible when the genders are working in a complementary fashion is so extraordinary. And anything that takes away from that, anytime you see one as your opponent, you're losing really the possibility of what happens when you see them as your complement. And when the dance of what I would say, it's all about power, but it's a delicious power, the power to reveal yourself, the power to express, and the power to um, almost feigned challenge back and forth. And it's so delicious when there is a true respect and love for the other gender. It's a playground. To me, it's an utter playground. And so if you're, what's the word, kind of tilted towards seeing this person as out to get me or my enemy, or men just can't understand women, and women just can't understand men, you put in the mix this thing that already pushes you apart and says our worlds are never going to be more than me trying to just simply get along with you, as opposed to saying, I want to get right in the ring with you, because what can happen when we get in there together is extraordinary. It's hot, it's rich, it blows the lid off everything, it just does. And when you see a couple that works together like that, that really gets it, that being feminine is extraordinary and being with a male is extraordinary, it just is this fuel that lets something else happen. So we're trying to say, get out of the way of it. You can't afford it.
I loved what you said about everyone needing a daily diet of positive messages.
Yeah.
Tell us about the 5 basic messages that we all need to thrive.
Well, I think I would start with the gender messages, because I think they're so easy and they're so interesting. When we look at men and women, and we're looking at them physically, but we're also looking at them energetically. So it's a little bit of a different slant, as you probably got from the book. We notice that most people are walking around somewhat starved, and they're starved as a human because we're not offering these very simple daily messages that help build healthy psychologies and help people relax, basically. So on a daily basis, you may notice somebody's greatness, and I may think, gosh, Miriam is a beautiful woman, or, look at the color of that against her skin, or what an interesting person. But if I don't share it, I don't get to nourish you. Yeah, I mean, it takes so little, it takes nothing from me except oh, look at this. And so we have this capacity to support each other's greatness by nourishing them. And the 5 messages really are the things that over the years in sessions with people, we've noticed these seem to be the things people are the most starving for. Can you just see someone and offer that? Can they feel like you'll offer an apology? I'm so sorry that your day was difficult. Can you offer appreciation? Because most of the things that people do are invisible. You may have been up all night with your mother who's ill, or a friend who's going through a divorce. But if I don't recognize that was difficult and I so appreciate the effort, there's this subtle starvation of isolation and unseenness that's so easy to share and to alleviate. And also safety. People are walking around feeling incredibly unsafe, and the capacity to offer to somebody, I'm safe for you, and I will provide as much safety as I can. It becomes a habit. And what I notice in the classes, the minute you start talking about it, everybody gets it. And you get this incredible turnaround. People start offering it. They don't wait to say, well, the stingy, well, I'm not going to say it if they don't say it. You just start offering it. You have emotion, and we do it all the time. And it begins to create an environment in which people are actually nourished. Mm. It's fantastic, and it's simple.
And how important is that for parents vis-a-vis children?
Yeah.